As Trump's warships choke off Hormuz, is Mujtaba Khamenei's closest major ally now quietly rearming Iran through a backdoor that US destroyers simply cannot reach? While Washington touts its blockade, is Moscow quietly building a new war lifeline for Tehran? One that runs far from the Strait of Hormuz and straight into Iran's heartland. If Russian cargo ships are ferrying drone parts to Iran out of sight of US patrols, does that turn Trump's showpiece blockade into an embarrassment that Iran and Russia are now exploiting? And if Putin and Mujtaba have found a way to move weapons and tech without ever crossing US gun lines, are we watching in real time how they outmaneuvered Washington's much-touted blockade? As US warships enforce a naval blockade around Hormuz, Russia, Mujtaba Khamenei's key partner, is quietly opening a new supply lifeline into Iran far away from those choke points. US officials say Russia is now shipping drone components to Iran via the Caspian Sea, using a route they describe as a growing shadow corridor for sanctioned military hardware. These consignments are reportedly helping Iran rebuild drone forces badly depleted by recent US and Israeli strikes, allowing Tehran to restock faster than the blockade can wear it down. Crucially, the entire supply line bypasses the Strait of Hormuz and the US-led naval cordon, flowing instead through waters where American forces have no authority to interdict ships. Russian trade figures now show a sharp spike in cargo moving to Iran along Caspian routes, suggesting this is no one-off trickle but a deliberate pivot toward that inland sea. Port logs and satellite images point to a steady procession of vessels shuttling between Russia's Astrakhan and Iran's Bandar Anzali, turning that line into a quiet logistics belt. Ships are also said to be calling at Iranian hubs like Amrabad, sometimes with tracking signals off or delayed, adding a layer of secrecy to an already murky flow. Analysts argue the Caspian has effectively become a critical trade and military corridor for both Russia and Iran, knitting their sanctioned economies closer together. US officials warn that the same pathway is carrying not just drone parts but industrial goods and specialized technology that can feed Iran's broader war machine. This Caspian pivot lets Iran keep importing key industrial supplies and sensitive tech even as Washington insists its maximum pressure campaign is squeezing Tehran into submission. Over recent months, Russia and Iran have quietly expanded their Caspian shipping network, turning it into what officials privately describe as a de facto sanctions corridor, as per New York Times report. Reports say roughly 2 million tons of Russian wheat are now moving to Iran through the Caspian alone, underlining how vital the route has become for basic supplies as well as weapons. Russian analyst Vitaly Chernov has openly stated that instability around Hormuz makes Caspian routes very attractive, both commercially and strategically, for Moscow and Tehran. Experts add that some ships on this route often switch off or spoof their tracking signals, making it harder for foreign navies and regulators to monitor what is really being carried. Unlike in the Persian Gulf, US naval forces cannot legally interdict or board vessels in the Caspian Sea, leaving Washington largely reliant on intel and sanctions rather than physical power. Under existing agreements, only the 5 Caspian coastal states can operate militarily in this landlocked waterway, effectively locking the US and its allies out of direct enforcement. According to US officials, Russia is using this corridor to send drone components that will help Iran rebuild its arsenal, including parts compatible with Shahed-type systems. One assessment cited in the reporting claims Iran lost nearly 60% of its operational drone force during the recent US-Israeli strikes, making rapid resupply a strategic priority. The same sources note that Moscow and Tehran have been swapping drone technology through Caspian channels for years, long before this latest war put the route in the spotlight. Iran earlier used the Caspian to ship Shahed drones northward to Russia for use in Ukraine, proving the corridor's value as a two-way military conveyor belt. Russia later began building its own Shahed-style drones under license in Tatarstan after 2023, further tightening the drone partnership between the two sanctioned states. European officials say Moscow and Tehran continue to share tactics, targeting data and weapon technology lessons, making each new shipment more than just a box of spare parts. In March, Israel launched a strike on Iran's naval command center at Bandar Anzali on the Caspian coast, an operation widely seen as a message about that route's growing military importance. Tel Aviv later billed the attack as one of its most significant operations against Iran in recent years, hinting that it hit more than just a symbolic target. Analysts believe the port was chosen precisely because of its role in Russia-Iran military trade, including suspected shipments of drones, missiles, and spare parts. The The same reporting suggests both Russia and Iran view the Caspian as a long-term alternative trade corridor that can outlast any single round of sanctions or blockades. However, experts warn that shallow waters, aging ports and limited ship sizes still cap how much can move along this network, meaning Iran's new lifeline is powerful, but not limitless.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.